Welcome to Husker Storm video vlog, or video blog, or vlog, whatever you want to call it, who cares. We're going to look at last week, which was week 9, and look forward to week 10. So looking at predictions last week, I had Clemson on upset alert, and but I predicted them to win, even though I thought there was a possibility they could get upset. But you know what, they didn't score enough points. I mean, I thought Georgia Tech was going to be able to move the ball efficiently on that poor run defense, but man, it was they got destroyed. I mean, they lost by 14. It wasn't even a close game for most of it. What else we got? I missed Missouri and A&M. A&M was up 11, and again they collapsed. So I missed that one. Here's some other notable games from this week. Kansas State got destroyed. Sooner or later, the luck would go away, and you could see them losing 3 or 4 games. At least 2 or 3 more for the rest of the year. And OU, they look sharp again. Landry Jones was efficient. Whiskey lost another Hail Mary. This one wasn't lucky. Braxton Miller made a great pass. Great play by him. And Wisconsin's they're still the front runner for the leaders, but they're 2 games back. And the only reason they're front runner is Penn State's schedule. Nebraska shut down Michigan State. The Black Shirts are coming around. I'm not going to say they're back yet. We'll see how they play versus Northwestern in that pretty good offense that they have. So they shut down Kirk Cousins. The coverage was great, and they're playing pretty short in terms of cornerbacks. Deontay Evans didn't play the second half. Stanley Baptiste was in there every once in a while. And Andrew Green played pretty well. He got burned once, but he was making tackles, and which he had struggled with all year. Tackling was great. The defensive line and that psycho look, what they stole from the Steelers and what the Packers sometimes do, a little different because they don't have a guy down, and it's not a bunch of linebackers out there. But the defensive line was getting pressure. So that was a good game. Joe Pa got 409. It was a thriller. They came back against Illinois down 7-0 and won 10-7. So let's talk about the Big Ten, the big picture in the Big Ten. Penn State's a front runner in the leaders, but Ohio State and Wisconsin are close on their trail. Wisconsin's got the easiest schedule out of all 3 of those teams, I'd say. The only tough game is Penn State, which they get them at home. If they find a way to win out and Ohio State wins out, Ohio State gets in. I think Ohio State's going to find a way to win out. Indiana, Purdue, those are easy wins, I think. Penn State at home, defense is going to play well. Braxton Miller's going to do enough to get them the win. And Boom Herron's going to do the job there. Michigan's, that's a 50-50 game at the Big House. I think they can control Denard Robinson. Not shut him down like Michigan State, but control him. And I think they'll put up some points against the Michigan defense. So I think Ohio State's going to get to the Big Ten championship now. Going into this year, I thought, Ohio State's going to lose 4 games, 5 games. Well, they're going to lose 3 games and get to the Big Ten championship potentially. But they could end up losing 5 games, losing at against Penn State and at Michigan. But I'm going to give them the edge. And Wisconsin's schedule, it's pretty easy. You're at Illinois. Illinois is terrible. They're not terrible, but they're not the 16 team they once were ranked. Penn State, they get them at home. They'll do enough to score points, and their defense will do a good job. I got Ohio State, and now the talk is the leaders division. Nebraska has a chance they can win out, and they'll play in the Big Ten championship. They got the toughest schedule, but they can do it. I think. Northwestern. It could be a shootout. Nebraska's going to score 50 points. But, Northwestern, Dan Person, Ken Coulter, is going to do a good job against. I think they'll have a good game against Nebraska's defense. At Penn State, Penn State's much. Their offense is pretty similar to Michigan State's. Now they might run the ball a little bit better, but they don't pass the ball nearly as close as good. And Nebraska can now bring a safety down into the box against Penn State, unlike they did against Michigan State, where they're playing two safeties deep in coverage, double teaming B.J. Cunningham and Keyshawn Martin. So they can bring that safety up against Penn State, and they'll stop the run. And I think they'll just pound the run game on Penn State. And it could be a blowout, but Big Ten road games have been an issue for teams. Then they go to Michigan. That's my scary one. Nebraska's struggling with dual threat quarterbacks. It's going to be a shootout, and that's going to be a great game. Then they're at home against Iowa. Iowa's lost all three road games this year. That's their 3 losses by 14 points. An average of 14 points. And I think Nebraska will have a heyday against them. So, Nebraska's biggest questionable game is going to be Michigan for me. So now let's look forward to the next week. So I have Nebraska against Penn State against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. USC lost to Stanford. It always takes a little luck, and Stanford got it. And pardon the pun, Andrew Luck played well despite his pick 6. And they got a little lucky fumble at the end. Then Robert Woods pretty much lost his team the game when he's running across the field like a bonehead instead of getting down. Okie whooped Baylor. And I'm going to talk about my reaction to the polls. I was a little appalled at Arkansas. Okay? They played LSU not LSU. They played Vanderbilt and Ole Miss. Okay? Those teams Vanderbilt's better than Ole Miss big time. But it took a lot of luck for them to beat Vanderbilt. A 95-yard fumble return got them back in the game. And Ole Miss was beating them like 17-0 at one point. So them being the number 7 team in the country in the BCS is too high. Oregon's much better than them. South Carolina at 9 is too high. So, South Carolina, way too high, too one-dimensional. Connor Shaw's not that great of a quarterback. And so they'll lose again this week. Not again, but they'll lose for the second time to Arkansas this week. Since Marcus Latimer's out, that defense is good, but they're too one-dimensional on offense. Clemson, they are 11. Big drop for them. They lost on the road to an unranked team. That's what happens. Kansas State, 14. They're going to lose again. Continue to drop. Wisconsin, number 20, way too low. They'll work themselves up back to top 15, but I think they can beat everybody in the country except LSU and Alabama. LSU at Alabama. Here we go. LSU, quarterback edge. Alabama, running back edge. Trent Richardson's best player in the country. Alabama's going to get this one 13-10. Yes, I said LSU to win the national championship originally, but you know what? It's a road game. Tuscaloosa's a tough place to win, and A.J. McCarron's going to do enough and not make mistakes. 13-10, Alabama. Kansas State at Oklahoma State, another loss for Kansas State, 7-2 now. 59-31. Texas A&M at Oklahoma. Texas A&M's got the firepower on offense to keep up with Oklahoma, but their defense is too blitz heavy, and they leave the middle of the field open. Oklahoma 45-38. South Carolina at Arkansas. South Carolina gets another loss, and Nebraska gets to move up. Arkansas, yes, they have struggled, but South Carolina is not going to be able to keep up. 24-20, it's going to be a close game. I think Arkansas gets the edge, though. They're at home. Oregon at Washington. Washington is underrated, I believe. They had smashed twice on the road against 2 top 10 teams. Now they get Oregon at home. Oregon struggled last week. Darren Thomas especially, and Michael James. Maybe they're a little injured. Washington's going to come out on fire. 28-20, they're going to have it at halftime. But then Oregon's going to pull away 41-38. Oregon wins this one. Northwestern and Nebraska. Northwestern travels to Lincoln. Or not to Lincoln. Yeah, travel to Lincoln, what I'm talking about. So they go to Nebraska. Tanner Martinez is going to rush for 100. Rex Burkhead's going to rush for 100 in 2.5 quarters. They'll pull him halfway through the third. Get that trio of true freshmen some time. Dan Person and King Coulter scare me. Their dual threat ability. Dan Person's not the same dual threat he was last year, but he can still pass it. King Coulter can pass it and he can run it. It'll be interesting to see how that defense plays against this. It's a good offense. Yes, they're 3-5, but they have a good offense. It's their defense that struggled. So I think Nebraska wins this one 52-27. Could be closer, could be further apart. But Nebraska's going to have a heyday on that defense, and we'll see how the Black Shirts come out. Michigan at Iowa. Michigan beat Minnesota 58-0. Iowa lost to Minnesota 22-21. Enough said. Michigan wins 38-24. Arizona State at UCLA. Arizona State needs to win this game. If they don't, UCLA's got the front runner for playing the Pac-12 championship from the South. But I think Arizona State's going to take this one. UCLA's offense isn't that great, and their defense isn't very good. Somehow they're 3-2 in the Pac-12. That tells you the strength of the Pac-12. Arizona State 27, UCLA 17. Texas Tech at Texas. Texas Tech, what the heck? You lost to Iowa State. Big time. I mean, you just got, raped. Texas is going to take this one. I hate to pick Texas. Texas wins this one 34-27. It's going to be a good game, trust me. Texas Tech's not going to come out as bad as they did last week. Let's see, what other big games do we have in college football this week? Notre Dame, watch out for Wake Forest. They're better than you think. Let's see. Louisville, potential to pull the upset on West Virginia. TCU, better watch out for Wyoming. TCU could get their third loss. They won't, but they could. Hey, battle of the Army and Air Force. Battle of the Academies. That's about it. I mean, Missouri-Baylor could have been a good game, but those teams are not winning. Cincy's going to win again against Pittsburgh. Cincy's taking the Big East. I had USF. Then I changed my mind. I was like, West Virginia. Now I'm changing my mind again. Cincy's going to take it. That looks like that's about it for games this week in college football. There's a Sunday game. Utah State at Hawaii. Hawaii's going to get win number 6. So that's it. Check back next week. Have some more stuff. That's it. Thanks for watching.